Ben Monroe here, interview with Marcus, safety coach, Santa Rosa Junior College.
Elias.
Elias.
Right, we're going to be starting. All right, Coach, what do you expect or look for in a captain?
Everything I look for in a captain is someone that can conduct themselves on and off the field, someone that comes to games, practices, full of energy, ready to go, can get their troops going, just because, the emotions of sports and everything like that, you always got to have that person that can take charge, not always the head coach or any other coach can always do that. Sometimes players look to their other players to be that captain, be that leader.
Do you have any superstitions?
My superstition always, when I was playing, was just always looking good on the field.
What are the rewards of coaching?
I think the rewards of coaching is just, the ability of being able to make a positive influence in a kid's life. As a coach, obviously you had the experience, most likely, of playing at the next level, things like that. So for a guy like myself, of playing at the University of California, being able to come back to my hometown and being able to teach, great young kids, from high school to college level, it's the best opportunity that I can do. And at the same time, just the reward of a kid saying that, hey, coach, I made it, is the best feeling in the world.
Is motivation and desire enough to make up lack of athletic ability?
To a certain extent. One thing that you can never, take away from someone is their heart, and if you're motivated, you have the passion, you have the, you can do all those things, sometimes that does overtake, the athletic ability than other players, but I think when someone is just very skilled and athletic and have that whole total package, then I think it's kind of hard to overtake that.
Do you have players who play differently performance-wise in game situations?
Not really.
No. How do you handle players with attitude problems?
Pretty much how I handle players' attitude. I'm a type of coach that I don't really like to take that much nonsense, but at the same time, I'm able to work with kids. Certain kids, that come with a bad attitude, things like that, you can't really stress on it as much as coach. You got to, find a way to state your example through that kid, whether it be, being aggressive or being kind of finesse, being kind of passionate about things. You got to find that inner way of how that kid can be able to react to it. And once you find that way of how that kid reacts to certain circumstances, then that's the way you adjust to that player.
Is there anything you notice about out-of-state athletes?
It's different in Santa Rosa, California. It's different in Santa Rosa, California just because a lot of kids come from the deep south. And when you think from a lot of kids coming from the deep south, sports is everything. We live in a great community. Right now, the best opportunity right now is that our sports are trying to become a little bit more bigger. For kids that come from Texas, kids that come from Florida, kids that come from SoCal, sports is everything. Sports is a way of making it out, the inner city. Sports is a way of making it, so that they can support their families for the rest of their lives. So it's a little bit different.
Do you have any pregame rituals or pregame habits?
A lot of my pregame rituals is just, keeping quiet, sticking to myself, just getting my mind in that game mode.
What was your mentality going into college football games?
My mentality was pretty much, I always knew that I was always going to be prepared because I had some of the best coaches in America. So I always knew that we were always going to be mentally, physically prepared. But my main thing to prepare myself was just not getting overwhelmed with things and just doing the things that I knew that I had to do to be successful on the field. Not overbeat myself with things that I knew that I couldn't control, but just handling the things that I could control on the field.
At one point, do you think you would step in as far as your children being coached?
Can you say that again?
At one point, do you think you would be that you would step in as far as your children being coached goes?
That's hard because I don't have children right now. So, I think it would be hard for me just for a little bit, just because, like I said, the experience that I've had, but at the same time, my children are going to be able to see it from a different point of view. So it's one of those things where they can get the best of both worlds, where they can get it from their dad and they can get it from other people that have the same experience as me.
In your experience, what was the transition from high school to college like?
That everybody can play just like Marcus Ezeff, and everybody's that talented, and everybody's that good. Day in, day out, you have to be on the grind to do everything that's going to have to separate yourself from the rest. Coaches just don't look at you on the field like I said, they look at you off the field. They see the guys who you hang around. You know, they're evaluating you each and every time, you know, that you're in their presence. And that's one thing that a lot of players have to understand, that coaches evaluate you each and every moment of the day. You could be walking through campus and coaches evaluating. You know, you never know where your coaches are lurking around. So it's one of those things where you're always trying to be on your best behavior.
What was it like getting a taste of the pros?
It was a great feeling. Just, you know, getting the shots and, you know, CFL, NFL, AFL, you know, it's just experiences that I can look back and I can tell my parents, you know, just saying, hey, you know, I made it, and, you know, and I made the most of my opportunity. And when I look back, when I have a kid one day saying, hey, you know, your dad made it, I never quit, but, you know, I made it to where I wanted to make it to, and, you know, I can try and teach you as much as you need if you ever want to get there.
Do you allow players to swear?
Semi, you know, I semi-agree with it, and I semi-don't, just because it's an emotional game in any sport that you play. So if players swear, they swear. If they don't, they really don't.
Do you believe in second chances?
I definitely believe in second chances, because this is a life full of second chances. You know, you can't just, you know, penalize a kid on his, you know, mistakes that they make, because we know that we do coach young kids, and the kids are going to make mistakes being young.
How important is a halftime speech when you're up or down?
It's very important. You know, momentum is the key to any game. You know, so one thing as a coach, you always got to stay into it, just because your players are looking to see how involved you are still in the game. Even if you're losing by 20 or getting blown out by 40, or if you're up by 7, you know, your players react in a way that they see how you're reacting.
At the college level, is it more important to win or to develop players?
It's more important to win. It's more important to win, just because when you play at the college level, you know, depending where you are, if you're playing at a Division I school, one loss can determine your own fate. So it's one of those things where you have to win each game and each and every out. You know, developing of the players, that's the reason why the kids go to the school, you know, because they can play at that level and everything. So, you know, it's going to take the time of how much is on the kid to be able to progress.
How do you prepare for a tough opponent?
The way I prepare for a tough opponent is just pretty much just like I always do. Hey, each and every day we grind in practice, you know, and, you know, let the outcome be. But, you know, as long as you're preparing the way that you have to prepare, you know, you should have no problems.
What about bad referees?
Can't really worry about the referee. The referee's going to call what they want to call. You know, you can get ignored with them, you can be upset with them, but, you know, they're going to call what they see. They're going to call their game, you know. So, I mean, there's really no reason of always arguing with them, because they're always going to keep their call.
Would you be hesitant to adjust your roster with a fully healthy reserve player over a slightly injured starter?
That always depends.
What do you look for in a player on their first day of tryouts?
Just to see how enthusiastic he is coming out there and seeing the full effort that he's going to give to us.
What's your view on college coaches? Like, what do you think? What was your experience going into college, having that kind of coach? Was it different from high school?
Oh, it's definitely different from high school. But I was also able to have a lot of great high school coaches that I had. One being in particular Dante DeBala. Dante played at University of California, Berkeley, so it was, you know, I think my transition was a little bit easier, but at the same time, you know, when you get to college, those coaches are getting paid, you know, some good money to be coaches. So it's one of those situations where, you know, that's their livelihood. You know, and we are their livelihood. You know, it's one of those things where we don't pan out, or, you know, they don't have great years. You know, those coaches get exited out. So it's one of those things where, you know, they have to do whatever it takes to be there. So, you know, they always have to come day in, day out with that grind.
What does the phrase "lead by example" mean to you?
Lead by example is just, you know, on and off the field. You know, if I was to look to my right, you know, and I was to look at, you know, a player like my starting free safety Blake, you know, is he leading by example on and off? You know, because players are going to look to him because he's a star. Players are going to look to him because he's a talented player. So it's things like that, you know, leading on and off the field. You don't have to be the most talented player, you know. You know, people, you represent your school, you represent your community, so you have to be smart with the decision that you make.
What do you think about your free safety, Elias?
I've been working with Elias for a very long time. I think Elias has the ability, as he gets older, to mature and become a very talented young player. One thing I just tell him is stay hungry, stay humble, continue to do the things of what's got you here. You know, it's been a daily grind, but, you know, I've definitely seen tremendous strides in his game, especially with his footwork, you know, from day one since I first met him. So, you know, one thing I tell him is continue to work hard, you know, and at the same time, you know, always compete.
All right, Coach. Thanks for your time.
You're welcome, Dr.
You too.
All right, that concludes our interview with Marcus, free safety coach.